So, welcome back to another edition of the Common Constitutionalist Weekly Podcast, and I'm the Common Constitutionalist, and thank you for joining me. I was happy with the podcast last week, but boy, I gotta tell you, that wind blowing was obnoxious as crap, and I really apologize for that, because it drowned me out. Maybe that was a good thing, it drowned me out a little bit. At any rate, today, I'm back at a different location. Hopefully the wind subsided. A little windy this morning, but it looks like it's gone down, so I don't think we're going to get that obnoxious wind noise today. At any rate, today we're going to talk about infrastructure. Yes, Trump's infrastructure bill, and the fact that the Republican government, the Trump administration, wants to raise the gas tax. So we'll talk about that today on the Common Constitutionalist.
Listening?
No, you limey. They're not listening. They're watching.
The Common Constitutionalist, broadcasting from an undisclosed location, free from the prying eyes of establishment black helicopters.
Alright, so welcome back. And again, like I said, we're going to be talking about Trump's infrastructure program. Not as much Trump's infrastructure program in detail as it is the gas tax. The fact that the administration and others in the Republican Party think it's okay to raise the gas tax. Now that gasoline is it's relatively inexpensive, let's jack up the gas tax to make it even more expensive. For you populists out there, for you people who want to cater to the lower income crowd, this is exactly the opposite of what you should be doing. This is a tax increase on the poor and the middle class. They have to drive to work every day. They're not rich limousine liberals. They can't afford fancy cars and whatnot. They usually have older cars, ones that aren't quite as good with the gas mileage, and so you're going to be hurting them. All you populists out there, all you Republican populists out there who want to raise the gas tax because it's safe to do so for your infrastructure programs and whatnot, this is what's going to happen. It's going to backfire on you. At any rate, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. But beforehand, these are my notes. I've noticed, because I've actually watched a couple of my own videos recently, and have noticed that I've gone on these tangents and I've gone everywhere, and I write these scripts out and notes and stuff, and I don't stick to them. And so I'm going to try something really novel today, sticking to the script. What a shocker. See how that goes. And also what I'm going to do is I'm going to try not to digress as much. I'm not going to try and go off on these storied tangents in the middle of my sentence and whatever. So this is what I'm going to attempt to do. I'm going to hold all my comments to the very end. I'm going to go through the entire article, which is a short article, and then I'm going to break it down by paragraph, not all the paragraphs, but by sentences and paragraphs, and I will make my comments then. So that's what we're going to do. So this is from Fox News and the Response Action Network. I get both of their emails, alerts, and things like that, and this I found fascinating. Gary Cohn, the chief economic advisor to President Trump, reportedly told lawmakers Wednesday, they don't know, but reportedly, here we go, right off of the bat. Geez, I can't help myself. Reportedly told lawmakers Wednesday that they will get a chance to vote for a gas hike early next year, and that it would be used to pay for infrastructure improvements. The Hill reported that Cohn, quote, seemed receptive to the idea, unquote. Way to go, Gary. Fuel taxes have been unchanged since 1993 and have created financial challenges for preserving the Highway Trust Fund. I gotta stop here, just real quick. Is that like the Social Security Trust Fund where there's nothing but a bunch of IOUs? Is there any money actually in the Highway Trust Fund, or is it being divvied out to other programs and then with a bunch of IOUs like the Social Security Trust Fund? Enough said. Sorry, couldn't help myself. So the federal government currently finances its trust fund with an 18.4%, or 4 cent, not percent, but 18.4 cent per gallon on gasoline and 24.4 cents per gallon on diesel fuel, neither of which are adjusted for inflation. So the revenue raised has effectively fallen over time. Cohn, a former president at Goldman Sachs, who hasn't been, is among the White House officials who've been working on Trump's infrastructure plan. Another has been DJ Gribben, former head of government relations at Macquarie Capital. The White House intends to back a 7 cent per gallon gas increase to pay for the likes of highways, bridges, and other public works, the Hill reported. Hey, great. Trump in May said he would explore the possibility of higher gasoline and diesel fuel taxes, suggesting an increase could pay for his ambitious infrastructure plan. Whose infrastructure plan isn't ambitious? Let me just ask that real quick. It's something I would certainly consider, Trump told Bloomberg News. And Business Insider reported this week that Cohn is likely, now this is off topic, but I guess it kind of is because it's about the Trump administration and Gary Cohn. And Business Insider reported this week that Cohn is likely to leave the Trump administration soon after tax reform plans are realized. The report said that Trump and Cohn's relationship has been strained since Cohn criticized Trump's remarks about the August violence in Charlottesville, Virginia. Dun, dun, dun. Tough break, eh? While there's a strong argument to be made for infrastructure upgrades, there's also no question that the nation's transportation bureaucracy is as bloated and insufficient as it can be, pouring more money into a system that diverts gasoline taxes to mass transit subsidies, parks, parking lots, and lots of overhead. It makes absolutely no sense. So that's the article. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back, and I'll break it down point by point, and I'll give you my 2 cents worth. Right after this. Be right back. Okay, welcome back. This is the Common Constitutionalist, Brent. So we're going to break this thing apart. First thing, okay, so Cohn, a former president at Goldman Sachs, is among the White House officials who've been working on Trump's, and this is the quote, obviously, from the beginning of the article. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to quote a portion of the article, and then I'll make my wonderfully insightful comments on each one of these paragraphs, what I find either agreeable or offensive or otherwise. Okay, so quote, Cohn, a former president of Goldman Sachs, is among the White House officials who've been working on Trump's infrastructure plan. Another has been DJ Gribben, former head of government relations at Macquarie Capital, unquote. All right? So I don't doubt, this is the first thing that jumped out at me here. Quote, Cohn is a former president at Goldman Sachs. So I don't doubt that this guy is a smart guy. But so what? You know who Tom Steyer is, that wacky leftist environmental whack job? The global warming nut? Well, Tom Steyer is a billionaire Wall Street investor too, hedge fund guy, that kind of thing. That's how he made his money on Wall Street. So all these guys are smart Wall Street guys. They're smart financial guys. And Tom Steyer, like Cohn, he's another Wall Street guy. But look at the stupid crap that he says about global warming. Why? Because he doesn't know the first thing about climate science. That's why. He's a dope as far as that goes. He's probably a genius as far as Wall Street goes, or he's just flat-ass luck, excuse my language, flat lucky. But he doesn't know the first thing about global warming or climate science. And so Cohn, he's a former president of Goldman Sachs, yet he's working on Trump's construction infrastructure highway bridge bill. What the hell does he know about that? He probably doesn't know the first thing about it. I don't understand how Trump picks these people for these projects. It doesn't make any sense. What does Cohn know about building roads, bridges? What does he know about traffic patterns and congestion relief and all these things that can be accomplished when you design and build roads and bridges properly? It would be like making my favorite coach and yours, Bill Belichick of the Patriots, head of the CDC, the Center for Disease Control. The head coach of the Patriots, Belichick, is arguably the smartest coach in the NFL currently, maybe ever. Okay, that's his purview. That's what he does really well. But he probably doesn't know from Adam anything about diseases or the Center for Disease Control. So that would be about as intelligent as putting Cohn in front of, in charge of planning congestion relief, traffic patterns, bridges, and whatnot. What is he there for? Just to put the money, to raise the money? I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense to me. That's point one. Next. Quote, the federal government currently finances its trust fund with 18.4 cents per gallon tax on gasoline and 24.4 cents per gallon tax on diesel fuel, neither of which are adjusted for inflation, so the revenue raised has effectively fallen over time, and boo flippin' who for that. But you'll also notice, interestingly enough, government always fights the flat tax, right? They want progressive income taxes, they want progressive taxes. Yet, this is a flat tax, right? It's amazing. When they have to, they can enact a flat tax, and that's exactly what the gas tax is. It is a flat tax. Now, as far as it's not inflation adjusted, so the revenue raised has effectively fallen over time. Well, can we get a duh? Can we get a big old fat duh for that? Not that I agree with any gas tax at all, or frankly, any tax other than what's constitutional. I don't agree with any of the crap. But it's their own fault that gas tax revenues have fallen steadily. Duh. And it ain't the inflation portion of it. The feds with their stupid green agenda. They enact these policies and rules and regulations, cafe standards and whatnot, forcing people to buy more efficient cars. Yay, we're going to save the planet. Well, when you're saving the planet, what happens is all these cars get better gas mileage, which means they buy less gas, which means they don't spend as much money on gas, and there's not as much money for taxes, so the revenue has fallen steadily. That's how stupid and short-sighted these freaking bureaucrats are. That's all I got to say about that. Next point. The White House, quote, the White House intends to back a 7-cent per gallon tax increase to pay for highways, bridges, and other public works. Trump in May said he would explore the possibility for higher gasoline and diesel fuel taxes, suggesting an increase could pay for his ambitious infrastructure plan. Quote, it's something I would consider, unquote, Trump said. So there's the paragraph. So we have to pay for stuff with increased taxes because government, what's the government budget up to? It's like $4 billion. It might even be over $4 trillion, or it could be over $4 trillion, the budget now. And yet they're in kind of like perpetual tapped out mode. They never have any money. It's ridiculous. Yeah, everybody has friends and relatives like this, where no matter how much they make, no matter how much revenue they bring into the house, they're always tapped out. I got a buddy of mine like that. Unfortunately, he's a gambling man. He loves him gambling. He hasn't done anything illegal or untoward. He just never has any dadgum money because he's always betting it away. It's his choice. Free country. As long as he doesn't ask me, or as long as he doesn't ask his other friends, and he hasn't, then he's free to do with his money whatever the crap he wants to do. The government, however, isn't free to do with their money because it isn't their freaking money. It's our money. And so they're asking for an increase in gas taxes because the $4 trillion that they already collect isn't enough. Wow. Oh, and I also, see, if I didn't make these notes, sometimes I wouldn't remember this crap. I also thought that, didn't Obama fix our infrastructure problem with the last $1 trillion porculus stimulus plan? Yeah, okay. No, because it was all a scam, and it was a basically black hole for all our tax dollars. But we're going to fix it this time, for sure. Believe it. Now, how stupid do they think we are? Don't answer that. You know what? I'm going to take another quick break because I feel like it, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Let's continue, shall we? Next. Next. That's from, I don't know what year it was, Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd, Barber of Seville, cartoon. Bugs Bunny, funniest freaking cartoons on the planet. Loved them. Loved them as a kid. Still love them as an adult. We still watch them. They're classic. Barber of Seville. Look it up. It was great. Next. All right. Sorry. Here we go. Digressions again. Transgressions. All right, next. So, quote, Business Insider reported this week that Cohn is likely to leave the Trump administration soon after tax reform plans are realized. The report said that Trump and Cohn's relationship has strained. Where's the stain? Get it up. Use some Tide. Has strained since Cohn criticized Trump's remarks about the August violence in Charlottesville, Virginia, unquote. So is this true? I don't know. Don't much care either, to tell you the truth, be honest with you. But the press has reported this kind of crap with virtually every single one of Trump's cabinet members, and for the most part, they're still there. So it may be a total load of crap, or it could be true, but who cares? Again, so what if it's true or not? The guy isn't this guy entitled to his own opinion? I mean, can't he have his own opinion? Why do we think that all the president's people have to be these mindless followers? Why do we think that, and it's some scandal if they're not? If they say, oh, I don't agree with the president, I think he was wrong there. What the hell's wrong with that? Well, why can't they disagree every once in a while? What's the big deal? But where do we get this notion? Where did it come from that the president should only be surrounded by yes men, sycophants, and apologists? It doesn't make any sense. That the White House is falling apart if someone disagrees with Trump. Like I agree with Trump on most issues, but just not on this one. Wow, how scandalous. What's the big deal? So what? And that never works in any other field of endeavor. It never works, or at least not for long anyway. No person, except maybe me, yeah, is right all the time. Yeah, that's a hot one. Differing opinions are healthy, obviously, and productive. They can be, if they're treated properly. It's called diversity. Real diversity? Diversity of thought. So you on the left, that's what diversity is really all about. Differing opinions. It's okay to have them, You can agree to disagree without being disagreeable. Thought of the day. Hooray for me. All right, but people, mainly the press, think that it's so scandalous that one of Trump's cabinet members or senior advisors don't constantly toe the line all the time, like they have to be some sort of mindless foot soldiers, and that they seem to be in past administrations. Every single one of the cabinet members in Obama or Bush or something like that, they toe the line, and they all agree. And when they're asked, they all agree or they deflect. Why can't they just say, I disagree? On this issue, I just happen to disagree. What the hell's wrong with that? I mean, it's nothing is wrong with that. But somehow, it's some sort of earth-shattering fracture in the administration if somebody disagrees with the president. So what? We've never seen division like that, and this is another thing. We've never seen division like this in the White House. Oh my heavens! And you're right, because the rest of the people have been mindless drones that work for presidents. Whether they be good people or bad people, they still, they don't feel like they can think for themselves, and that's a bloody shame. And the press loves reporting this because obviously they hate Trump, and obviously they hate Trump because Trump won't genuflect in front of them. That's why they hate Trump, because he just throws it back in their face, and that's why people love Trump, at least the people that love Trump, that is. But I wouldn't expect these guys to bow to Trump. I mean, that's the point about the difference between his hires and a lot of other political hires, cabinet members, senior advisors, and things like that. In the past, these people have towed the line for the president. Yes, Mr. President. Yes, Mr. President. Never no, Mr. President, but always yes, Mr. President. I agree with Mr. President. And then they go off into a closet and scream to themselves because they don't really, but they can't dare say so. Well, duh, that's ridiculous, and it's no way to run a railroad. But these guys aren't these political hacks. They're not these people that have been in government for their entire adult lives. These guys are business tycoons. They're captains of industry and captains of finance. They're not used to answering to anyone or towing out anyone else's company line, so to speak. It's their company line that needed to be towed. That's where these people are coming from. So they have a tendency to speak their mind because that's what they're used to doing. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, why the heck can't we just say, sorry, I just 7 cents a gallon gas tanks, Mr. President. I'm in your cabinet. I don't agree. Okay, you don't agree. So what? You're not the one that makes the decision. I am, but thank you for your input. What the hell's wrong with that? Nothing. Whew. Okay, so finally, quote, while there is a strong argument to be made for infrastructure upgrades, man, you have no idea sometimes when you're reading this stuff, and I'm going through this as I'm reading it, how I want to go off on a tangent and a tirade and just lay onto these things as it's fresh in my mind. But it serves nobody's purpose, certainly not mine and certainly not yours, because like I said, I've watched these things and I'm going, well, you just lost everybody there because you went off on a tangent. How are you going to get back again? And I don't get back again. So, duh. Anyway, so finally, here we go. Quote, while there's a strong argument to be made for infrastructure updates, there's also no question that the nation's transportation bureaucracy is as bloated and inefficient as it can be. Pouring money into a system that diverts gasoline taxes to mass transit subsidies, parks, parking lots, and lots of overhead makes absolutely no sense, unquote. So, as I often do, let's talk the Constitution, shall we? Maybe in a couple of years I'll be a constitutional expert, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just some schmo that reads the Constitution and understands it because it's not written in Spanish or Swahili. It's written in English. And I can understand English. And those things that I can't understand, I go to trusted people like Dr. Arnn or Mark Levin or somebody like that. Glenn knows a lot. Glenn Beck knows a lot about the Constitution. But real constitutional conservatives, they can explain this stuff. All right? But most of the time, they write in a way that requires no explanation other than the ye olde Englishy sometimes that they use, and we don't use those terms anymore. So that's where we're going to end this thing. We're going to end it with the nation's rule book. That while there is a strong argument to be made for infrastructure updates, I agree with the bloated and the bureaucracy is bloated and inefficient as it can be, because every single federal bureaucracy is as bloated and as insufficient as it can be. Probably not, because the minute you say that it is as can be, they surprise you and become more bloated and more inefficient. At any rate, I get it. I get the gist of it, and I agree with that they're pouring good money after bad into these other projects, and it's just like the Social Security Trust Fund. There's really no money in there. It's all gone to other projects and other porculous programs. And I don't doubt that there's nothing really in the Highway Trust Fund either. At any rate, so we're going to end up with the nation's rule book, the Constitution. I defy anyone to find me a single word about internal improvements, as in infrastructure, highways, bridges, buildings, other than federal buildings that need to be built to house the federal government, not in palatial mansions, but federal buildings. Remember, the first Supreme Court was held in the basement. That's how much that's how much they rated. At any rate, again, there is not a single word in the Constitution that mentions infrastructure or any what we call internal domestic spending. That's all supposed to be left to the states. Oh yeah, that's right. That's why they put in the 10th Amendment. That everything that's not specifically spelled out in the Constitution for the federal government to be able to do is automatically reverted to the people in the states. That's why they put it in there. And that's why this is such bullcrap. That there's a strong argument to be made for infrastructure upgrade. There may be a strong argument, but it's none of the federal government. It's not their job. It's not their responsibility. As a matter of fact, it's the exact opposite. By the Constitution, per the Constitution, they're not even allowed to do this crap. Of course, about 80% of what the federal government does is unconstitutional and anti-constitutional, but hey, what the heck. But then the argument would be, well, but the states can't afford it. They don't have the kind of money. Well, then boo freaking who? Then cut your own daggum budgets. Some of these states have, $100 billion budgets and whatnot. They don't need hundreds of billions of dollars to run their silly state. Cut their budgets, all right? Cut their taxes, cut their budgets. That's what you do. Stop trying to take care of everybody through entitlement spending. And if you do, well, boo-hoo for you. Then you're going to be driving on dirt and gravel roads and cow paths and cart paths instead of modern-day bridges. Well, boo freaking who for you. Too bad. And then you're going to see everybody moving to a state that can't afford to build their own roads and bridges and interstate highways and whatnot, which is unconstitutional too. But that's beside the point. That's all I've got to say about this. This whole thing is a total load of crap. The government shouldn't be collecting taxes on the gas that we're forced to buy. Same as Obamacare. The same as everything. Is that they're forcing us to buy this kind of stuff. You can't get around not buying gas. So it's just like the income tax. You earn money, you pay the government. The government doesn't earn anything. They haven't earned a dime of your money, they just steal it. They put a gun to your head effectively and say, give me whatever percent of your money. Give me 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% of your money in some states. Like Sean Hannity says he spends like 50 to 60% of his money in taxes and fees and whatnot in the state of New York. And I know that because I got a buddy of mine that lives in New York State. And you can't believe the amount of itemized taxes that they have to pay for cities and towns and schools. And it's unbelievable and it's never ending. And I don't understand why anybody lives in a state like that. What a screwed up state. Unbelievable. Here we go. But at least I digressed at the end and not the beginning. So this is the Common Constitutionalist, Brent, at the Common Constitutionalist, signing off. And I think this worked out pretty well, actually. I think it flowed a little better. That's just my personal opinion. But we'll see. Proof's in the pudding, baby. And so we'll talk at you next week. God willing, and the creek don't rise. But it's chilly being out there and up here. I can't believe it was 76, 77 degrees yesterday. And now it's like 40. I mean, what the crap. I'm surprised people aren't deathly ill, or else some of them are. But at any rate, that's it. See you next week. I'm out. So, real quick, before I go, I forgot to mention, I want to show you guys something a little patriotic regarding, I'm a big Revolutionary War fan, as everybody knows. And so, for you folks that the flag may not be as important as it once was, but it sure was important back during the revolutionary times. And I want to show you something that kind of puts it all in perspective. So here we go. That dude up top there is General John Stark. He was a hero of the Revolutionary War. The American Revolution, not the Russian or the French Revolution. But on his huge monument here that I'm out in front of, reads the following: tonight our flag floats over yonder hill, or Molly Stark sleeps a widow. General John Stark, Molly Stark is his wife. That's commitment, baby. tonight our flag floats over yonder hill, that means they're going to either take that hill or they're going to die trying, bro. And this is what they had to go through. This is what the commitment was to build this nation. So that's, I think that's a fitting end to things. Don't you think? See ya.